Alright, so I'm going to be making some homemade grape wine. I've just looked up some recipes online. After I got home, the sun was going down, and I noticed a whole bunches of really nice ripe grapes that have not been gotten by birds or deer. Now, these grapes are seeded. They are sweet red. These are some like beginner grapes that somebody planted up the road that they were going to try and do a vineyard, and that very quickly got kind of lost to the wayside. And there's already a bunch of wild grapes growing around, but these are also descended of about 15 years ago's initial crop that they tried to plant up the road. The vines that these grapes came off of are themselves probably 10 years old. It takes a deep tap root to get a sweet grape, from what I understand. I'm not a sommelier per se, but this is what I got. So these have been rinsed, separated from the stems. There's a few greens, but it's not a big deal. And let's see here, it's a decent sized bowl of grapes. So what I'm going to do is pause this. Well, I guess I'll dump them in first. It's going to be tricky to do one-handed grapes. Oh, easier than I thought. All right, cool. So got those in there. Mash them up. Okay, pause this. Okay, added a little bit of water to it. So what the plan is going to be is I'm going to make some wine, and then with the pulp that's left over, I'm going to make some vinegar. And be able to share some with friends and family or whatever, if they are into that kind of thing. Seen ones where they use a food processor. I'm not really keen on that because these are seeded. I don't want ground up seed, interspersed any more than I have to. As it is, I think there might be a spider or two in here. So you can see we're crushing them up real good. Yeah, I spent about an hour with a ladder, a pair of scissors, and several work lights. The grapevines are actually growing off of a thorny locust tree, a Siberian elm tree, and some kind of a birch or something out there that's offspring of one that my mom planted. Rest in peace. And so anyways, gonna smash these all up. Got a packet of yeast, big old bag of sugar, whole bunch of water. That's pretty good. You can hear them pop. Okay. So let's see. I'm going to pause for a second. I've added some sugar. It's a big old bag. And I believe what you call this is 1 imperial unit, known as a fuckload. There's 2 or 3 pounds of sugar in there. So now, we'll add the water. This water is straight hot out of the tap. It's not especially hot water, but come on. Just using the jars that I'm going to be fermenting in. 3 of those jars and approximately 1 jar's worth of grapes. Might put a little more sugar in there. I think I will. Jesus, I about dropped the phone in the wine. All right, so I added about another pound and a half there. There's a lot of sugar in this water. Stirring it up real good. And I know they're like, the other instructions are all wash your grapes off and everything, and I kind of did a little bit, but reality of winemaking, from my understanding, is that yeast is in all the air all around us. It is the bacteria on all surfaces. So if you sanitize your grapes, you're actually kind of taking a step backwards for the amount of yeast. So there we have it. See lots of seeds floating around in that too. All right, so I'm going to pause. I may not need to pause. Yeah, I'm going to have to pause just a moment. Okay. 1 packet of active dry yeast. This is Red Star. Lots of stirring, lots of air, any wild yeast or whatever can get in there. So what's going to happen is this yeast is going to ferment the sugars and pectin and other fruity compounds. And the sugar and pectin will become alcohol. So then we will have the grape-flavored alcohol, aka red wine. At that point, after about a week of fermentation, once I'm confident that it is in fact bubbling, which I'm going to watch this a bit tonight before I actually pour it into these. But I got 2 powdered peanut butter jars, 2 collagen peptide jars that have been cleaned out well, and I will be splitting them up into those. I'll be keeping the caps on them loosely. I think I will show that part when it comes to it. And, I mean, it's more effective to blend them, but I didn't really, like I said, I didn't feel like doing that with all the seeds in here. I don't want seed-flavored wine. I think that would make some very bitter wine. So anyways, this is technically, I believe, a wine mash now. Not bad. So anyways, all that sugar that's into there now sweetens it pretty well, but it'll all be alcohol by the time this is done, and then I'm going to have to add more sugar and water to sweeten it and thin it out because it's probably going to be very strong. And at that point, I'm going to have to, in the meantime, be locating every empty wine and whiskey bottle I have in preparation of filling them. So, yeah, that's my homemade wine here so far, and I will keep an update later on in the week. If it starts bubbling good or anything, has a nice mash floating on top, I'll be able to show that. And otherwise, in about a week, I will hopefully think to document the process of straining and bottling the wine. So it really is that easy. It is possible to do this without a bag, without a pouch of the yeast, but it takes a little extra time and extra stirring with an open top, or at least a very loosely covered breathable top, so that the wild yeast from the air can be collected by the wine. So yeah, that's pretty much what we got. Given enough time, this will bubble up and ferment and foam. So All right, well, that's what I got for now. I will keep you updated as more things happen. A little addendum. I've got these guys all full up here and a partial. And here in the bottom you see most of the seeds. That's freaking cool. So by the time it comes down to filtering these out, the other seeds will have sunk to the bottom too. But you can see there's a few, not a lot. And as we see too, we have some bubbles. So yeah, I just got that took care of, ladled it out, and poured the rest in. So now I'm going to close them up, get a box to store them in on my shelf in my little pantry thing there, which is kind of cool and out of the way. And I'm going to let them sit, and if they don't bubble enough, then I'll go ahead and put them out on the porch during the daytime and gather some heat that way. But anyways, that's all grape seeds.